I've been streaming for over 10 years now, and I still love video games as deeply as I did 30 years ago. But things have been weird. It feels like everyone I know is in a competition over who loves certain games more and who is the biggest gamer of them all. It's kind of put me off from the culture around gaming in general. The ecosystem, the noise, the pressure, the way everything now has to be content, even for people who aren't content creators and just posting on social media. And this video isn't meant to be a takedown of content creation because here I am. I do this too. But it's clear something has changed, and it's changing us and our expectations. Today I want to talk about how content creation and social media discourse have started to kill the space that was supposed to exist to celebrate games. If there's one series where I've watched this play out in real time, it's Final Fantasy. What used to be a place where people would nerd out about their favorite titles has turned into some weird turf war. Final Fantasy VII versus Final Fantasy XVI. Turn-based versus action. MMOs shouldn't count as a mainline title. Hell, if you like Final Fantasy XVI, it can feel like you have to justify your existence at all. Even in my own Final Fantasy tier list, I clearly explained that my rankings weren't objective truth, just reflections of my personal experience with each title. People still got upset. I said up front, as I replay this series, my rankings might change, and believe it or not, they did. Final Fantasy III was my least favorite in that ranking, and I just finished it last week and had a blast. But the comments are still full of people upset that their favorite game wasn't in my S tier. It's wild. My own personal opinion shouldn't matter this much. And somehow it does? Why? I'm not really sure, especially because I just wanted to track how my opinion changes over time as I revisit these games. And Final Fantasy VI and VII fans, I'm looking right at you right now. You guys make it harder to love these games sometimes. The expectations fans put on creators has actually made me dread playing them, which sucks because I used to love them a lot more. But the pressure of having these games as S rank just because other people think that it's S rank is weird. Stepping back and looking at the entire series, Final Fantasy always reinvented itself. New system, new tone, new vision, and that was the beauty of it. But that also means that every new fan arrives with different values and expectations. I started when I was 4. I grew up learning to adapt to each new entry. It felt like the developers had wanted that too. But now, decades later, the fandom can't even agree on what Final Fantasy is. It feels like Square's been chasing the high of the success of Final Fantasy VII for decades. That game redefined what fans expected from the series, but also just JRPGs in general. Trying to recreate that moment, it's left them disconnected. Development cycles are longer, technology has changed, nostalgia distorts everything. And yeah, I'm not immune to it either. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. I've also learned to lower my expectations and just have fun. That seems harder for people now. Part of that comes from internet discourse, too. JRPGs are niche, but when you're online, surrounded by people who love the same stuff, it starts to feel mainstream. Algorithms create echo chambers, loud opinions get repeated enough that they start sounding like truth. So people either adopt those takes or avoid conflict entirely, which, yeah, I get. Some people are just awful to argue with. But not everything has to be a debate. Sometimes we just need new ways to connect with each other. Underneath all of the noise, every Final Fantasy is usually a well-made game. Each one resonates with a different kind of person. And to me, that's a good thing. My go-to example is Final Fantasy Tactics. It's my favorite in the series. But if you don't like slow, strategic gameplay, you won't enjoy it. That doesn't make it bad. It just means it's not for you. We can't expect every game to meet our needs. I made peace with not always being the target audience, and just kind of wish more people would do that too. It's been really cool to watch new people discover the Final Fantasy series over on Twitch. It's made me a lot more aware though of how differently people consume games when making content. A lot of creators come in through Final Fantasy VII, 10, or 14. These games have massive support. They're steeped in nostalgia, and audiences flock to fresh reactions, especially the iconic Aerith moment in Final Fantasy VII. Every new creator who doesn't know her fate is treated like a shiny, rare unicorn. And once those creators start to take a step backwards into some of the older entries, it seems like they start to struggle. Because these games weren't made for reactions. They weren't actually designed for spectacle in the way that a lot of content creators tend to use them. Final Fantasy VII marked a turning point. Cinematic cutscenes gave people something big to react to. The earlier games were more subtle, quieter, emotional in different ways. But then when you look at a newer title like Final Fantasy XVI, that first 2-hour stretch, I was a hot mess. And when I looked back on it, it kind of felt like emotional manipulation. The rest of the game never quite hit the same energy for me. What stands out is how willing I was to watch my friends react to it over and over. It felt like sharing a feeling, something deeper. And that's what I realized the value of the connection, despite it being a marketing pipeline. No shade to Square. It's genius, but it runs deep. I think about Aerith's death and how it still hits like a truck almost 30 years later. That scene shocked people because it was so different from what we expected, especially in a game full of blocky Lego people. Even seasoned fans weren't ready. Sure, death wasn't new. Final Fantasy 2 through 6 had it, but 7 framed it in a new way, yet it still didn't feel like it was engineered to make you cry. It did because you were connected to the story and the party in the game. When I compare that to some of the moments in Final Fantasy 15 and 16, it feels like they were writing to make us cry. Now, I can't imagine living in the shadow of Final Fantasy VII's success. Even now with the Remake trilogy, one of the most beloved stories in gaming history, it's a no-win situation. Too much change is considered a betrayal. But then there's a whole different side of the fandom where if there's not enough change, that's disappointing too. It's kind of baffling how that works. When you layer in the content creation aspect of all of this, making reaction thumbnails, doing state of play and Summer Games Fest breakdowns, it becomes 30-minute takes on 30-second teasers. Suddenly, anticipation becomes the product. People aren't just watching the trailer, they're watching 10 creators watch it, then reacting to those reactions. Somewhere in that chain, the actual game gets lost. And if you're the creator, you better perform the correct emotion. Too excited? That's fake. Not excited enough? You're a hater. You have to curate the perfect flavor of hype, because at some point, the audience is watching you more than the game. Once a game is out, it's a minefield. Some chatters want to enjoy it with you, others want to spoil it for some other weird, sick personal satisfaction. It starts to feel like you're rushing through 40-hour RPGs, not to enjoy them, but to finish before Twitter spoils everything. You can't savor anything, you're just trying to survive it. People will drop weird takes in your chat, try to get under your skin, just to be seen, just to control the mood. And yeah, it works. It ruins the vibe. The biggest thing I've observed is that trust between creators and audience is fragile and it's starting to fade. Again, I'm not blaming creators, especially because most people are just trying to survive in this space. A lot of people I know are incredibly authentic, but when your livelihood depends on visibility, there's pressure to be first, to be face of a game, to lock in your reaction, even if you're unsure of how you feel about it truly. These aren't flaws, they're survival strategies. There's an invisible scoreboard online. You log in, see somebody got early access, a dev shout out, a PR package, and even if you're happy for them, a part of you wonders, why not me? That's when creators start to shift. They become more brand safe, more agreeable, hoping to get noticed and hoping to stay afloat. Eventually, when people don't get picked enough, something that used to give them incredible joy becomes something that they start to resent. I've seen it happen recently with Expedition 33, which I haven't played for myself. I'm waiting for the right moment. But I've been watching some creators use it to dunk on the Final Fantasy series, one of the many things that actually inspired it. And it kind of feels counterintuitive. It makes sense to maybe observe and reflect on what a game like Expedition 33's success means for interest in turn-based games, but to literally say Final Fantasy is an incredible failure despite the longevity of the series and how many games are within the series just kind of feels weird. I think it's important to realize that at a certain point, you're not playing games anymore. You're auditioning, and the games are becoming collateral damage. Original thought has become rare, not because people are stupid or unoriginal, but because having a different opinion can be risky. Big creators tend to set the tone, and everyone else follows. The algorithm rewards mimicry. Metaphor ReFantazio was hailed as the return to turn-based JRPGs. A few months later, when Expedition 33 dropped, all of a sudden that was the proof that turn-based RPGs returned. It was like Metaphor never happened. I'm curious what the next game is that is bringing back turn-based games. It makes me question, are people actually playing these games, or are they just chasing headlines? When I was a kid, I spent several months on a single RPG. Today, it feels like there's a week of hot takes and everyone moves on to the next thing. So what are we losing in this? As creators, we're losing immersion, space, the freedom to feel something quietly. Games are a performance for reaction and content loops. Even playing offline feels wrong, like hoarding joy. But maybe some joy should be private. Maybe not everything needs to be clippable, marketable, shared. Is the root of all of this capitalism? Kind of. But I think something deeper is shifting. Viewers are tired of watching content made for pitch decks and brand deals. They just want to hang out, feel things, play games, and connect. And that gives me hope. I've personally never been a big reaction content kind of person. Hell, I am a PNG frog girl. But people still hang out and still connect with me because I'm not the kind of person who has the big reactions that so many people are drawn to or that can be made into content. I've always put myself down and feeling maybe I'm not enough. But I've actually learned something completely different about myself and content creation over the past few years. For one, I hate the word content creation. Just play games. But also, the best parts aren't the highlight reels. They are the moments we connect with viewers. When someone shares when they played the game for the first time, who they played it with, what it got them through, or what it helped them understand in their life, those are huge moments for me. Those stories, they're always different, always real, and we're so lucky to live in an age where we can share them with each other. That connection is so special and magical. And in times like these, I think we could all use a little more of that.